Hello everyone, let me tell you today about the importance of sovereignty and its types. Why I have taken this topic today is because, with the invasion of Russia on Ukraine, the very concept of sovereignty has been questioned, right? So we must know what does sovereignty mean and its types, and what the United Nations Charter says about sovereignty, right? So let me first of all tell you what is the meaning of sovereignty. The word sovereignty is derived from the Latin word, right? Superinus, which means supreme, right? So when we talk about sovereignty, there is nothing beyond this. It is the final authority in any state. We have all read about the characteristics of state or aspects of state, and sovereignty is the most important aspect of a state. Then, in this context, why the sovereignty of Ukraine has been violated? Have a look at what the United Nations Charter says. Let me read it out for you. Right? Article 2, Clause 1 of the UN Charter says the organization is based on the principle of sovereign equality of all its members. Listen to me very carefully. Right. And number 3 says all members shall settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. Right? Number 4, what it says, that is going to be the crux of the discussion today. It says all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So, to be very precise, Russia has no right to invade Ukraine. Ukraine is a sovereign nation and it has violated the very core principles of sovereignty. Right? So now let me go down to the aspects of sovereignty through which we'll be able to understand what is it all about. Right. Now, before going down to that, let me give you 3 definitions on sovereignty. French philosopher Baudin first explained the doctrine of sovereignty. He says, sovereignty is the supreme power over citizens and subjects, unrestrained by law. Keep in mind, no law can restrain the authority of the sovereign. Second, Grotius, a Dutch jurist, also says, sovereignty is the supreme political power vested in him whose acts are not subject to any other and whose will cannot be overridden. Imagine the power of a sovereign, right? Third one, Burgess, an American philosopher, says sovereignty is original, absolute, and unlimited power over the individual subject and overall association of subjects. This is sovereignty. Now, from these definitions, we have gathered the fact that sovereignty is inviolable, sovereignty is supreme. No one can take away your sovereignty, right? Now, what are different types of sovereignty? Number 1 is internal sovereignty. When you talk about sovereignty, it means the final power over all individuals and groups of people that stay within the 4 corners of a state, right? State is the final authority to command and impose law over all of us. No one can have that power. Second one, external sovereignty. Have a look at that. External sovereignty means independence, to be very precise, right? You are not under the control of any foreign power. For example, on 15th August 1947, right, India was declared as an independent country. That means we were no more under the control of the British state. That's it. State has the right to declare also war and conclude peace. That is what we mean by external sovereignty. Now next, again we come across a concept called titular sovereignty. In a sense, it is a sovereignty in the namesake, right? You do not exercise the real power. In our constitution in India, what we say, our president is the titular head. He doesn't exercise real power. So the same thing happens with the British Queen, right? Also, she does not exercise real power. Real power lies in the parliament. Same thing happens in India also. The real power lies in the parliament and the government, right? Headed by the prime minister of the country, right? That is what is the titular sovereignty. Now I come to political sovereignty, right? What is political sovereignty now, right? What is political sovereignty? What we get out of this? Power of the electorate. Political sovereignty means power of the electorate. It lies behind the legal sovereign, right? It is the will of the people, because in India, after every 5 years, people got the power to change the government, whoever it is, whatever party it is. We have all the power to change the government. So that is called political sovereign. And another one sovereignty is de facto sovereignty. One we have read as titular sovereignty. Another one is the de facto sovereignty. What is de facto sovereignty? Right. Have a look at this. De facto sovereign is one who controls either by physical force or by moral persuasion. When we see the military rulers, when they take over initially, right, they are called de facto sovereign, right? Because they do not have the legal power to take over. They take over by force. But a de facto sovereign can turn himself or herself into a de jure sovereign in the courses to, come. Right, that can happen. It has happened in Pakistan when Musharraf took over, right? And gradually he got elected himself as the president of Pakistan. Now we talk about de jure sovereign. De jure sovereign is one, or sovereignty is one, that has the legal sanction. It is recognized by the law of the land. So that's the difference between de facto sovereign and the de jure sovereign. Now, the next type of sovereignty is legal sovereignty. Who makes laws? The one who makes laws, who tries to make laws. Its powers and commands are enforced by the executive officers of that particular state. Let me take you to the concrete definition of legal sovereignty. It was in fact given by John Austin, a British philosopher. Right. He wrote a book in 1832 called Jurisprudence. He actually advocated, in real terms, the theory of legal sovereignty. To him, a legal sovereign is indivisible. No one can divide it. It is the final power of a state. So nobody can take away his powers, right? It is based on, the concept that it is the final power and it has the final will to do whatever it wants. Got it? Right. Now, when we move beyond, we again get a concept called national sovereignty. Basically, the very concept of national sovereignty was propounded by French revolutionary philosophers against the absolute power of the monarch. Right. To them, nation being the collective of all the people has only the power to exercise sovereignty. So it was in fact also against the general will, right? The concept given by French philosopher Rousseau as well. And finally, we come down to the last brand of sovereignty called popular sovereignty. The very concept of popular sovereignty was given by Rousseau, the great French philosopher. Right? To him, it is a general will. will of the public. That is the place where sovereignty is there, right? It is the people that can control the sovereign power of the state. People have the sovereign power, right? So, general will is the main one, as Rousseau says, has the sovereign power. It is based on the famous saying called Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Voice of the people is the voice of God, right? And to be precise, Rousseau has given popular sovereignty the most meaningful, narrative in modern times. So we have seen different brands of sovereignty, right? Different types of sovereignty. This is how the very concept of sovereignty has been defined so far. And today we have seen the very concept of sovereignty and totality has been violated by Russia when it invaded Ukraine. So again, I'll be bringing the theories of sovereignty in my next video, right? Legal theory of sovereignty, pluralistic theory of sovereignty, popular theory of sovereignty. So keep watching me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.